Hey guys, it's Ninzy Roo here and welcome back to my channel. We are doing a speed build in Newcrest and I am doing kind of a Victorian row house inspired build. It's very similar in shape to that yellow house you see on screen to the left of this, but it is a little bit different. I ended up going with using Strangerville windows and doors. Again, they have that pack has the best Victorian items that I think we've ever had, and they're honestly probably some of my favorite assets in any of the game packs and expansion packs up to this point. So yeah, I was originally going to do an attic with some dormers up there, but the roof line wasn't lining up quite like I wanted it to, so I ended up getting rid of that and just adding the roof details that we got with the Strangerville pack, and I think it looks pretty nice. And I did decide to go everything blue with this house, so the exterior is blue, the windows have the blue accent with the shutters and everything, and then the interior also uses a lot of blue furniture, decorative items. Yeah, and so my thought was that the house next door, if that was very yellow on the outside, and it did have some yellow elements inside, but not as much. But this house, they went all out. They decided we're just going to run with this color, and everything's going to be blue. Maybe it's their favorite color. I don't know. But I did think it looks really nice. It sounds like it could look really awful, but it turned out. I think it turned out really pretty. So now I'm just working on the floor plan on the ground floor, and this is when I'm going to realize here pretty soon that I don't have enough interior space, so I end up sacrificing that upstairs balcony and turning it into more indoor living space, because I needed it in order to have the 3 bedrooms and 1 bath upstairs that I wanted. So we do that here in just a moment. I also went ahead and did a little kind of a bay window bump out here on the ground floor as well as upstairs, and I think it ends up looking really nice. Gives a little more interest on that side of the house that it was lacking. So the floor plan didn't take me too terribly. Once I decided to extend the upstairs and sacrifice that the upstairs balcony, the floor plan didn't take me too long. However, I did struggle with the stairs for quite a long time. I toyed with going with a single, straight stair. I toyed with doing a U shape. I tried to do other shapes, and nothing really looked nice or worked quite like I wanted to, except for that U shape, which I started with. So I ended up going back to that. Yeah, and I guess I could have edited that out, but I think it's kind of nice to show that there is some struggle. Even, for me, I've been building in The Sims for basically since it came out, especially in the last year. I've been building a lot, and I think it's nice to show that there is still some struggle with floor plan or choosing design elements, whatever it may be. Now we're starting to put lights in, and then we're going to start with the choosing paint colors for the walls. And I do, for the most part, I stick with lighter colored walls, but I do in that living room do that darker blue, which I think looked really pretty. And then of course with all the other furniture that I put in there, it just kind of pops. I also toyed with the idea of using this tile that we got, that pretty blue tile, but I don't know, it just didn't work quite right for this build. This is another part that I really struggled with a lot, is trying to get this island to work and the layout of the kitchen. You'll see me, I'm spending quite a long time in this kitchen initially, but then once I get the layout figured out, it definitely kind of picks up from there. But again, it's like, showing that there's sometimes a bit of a struggle getting everything to, look the way I want it to and be functional and still look nice in The Sims. So yeah. So this is basically the final layout of that kitchen that I end up going with. So I have the sink on the island and the washing machine on the island as well, and then stove and fridge on the opposite end. Kind of that, working triangle as best as I could do. And then I just start cluttering it up. I end up also using Move Objects to put some clutter items on the top of the upper cabinets, which I really have never done before, but it just all of a sudden came to me like, oh, that would be a really good idea to do that, because I see that in a lot of homes when the cabinets don't go all the way to the ceiling, that people put decorative items up there. And I don't know, I just really liked the idea of that, so that's what I did here, and I'm probably going to do that more often. Like I said, I never really do that. I mean, I wouldn't want in my own house, I wouldn't want to have cabinets that didn't go to the ceiling, just because I feel like it collects a lot of dust. But if I did, I know I would probably be displaying stuff up there, even though I'd have to dust it like every day. I also picked this round table to go in that bay window, but here pretty soon I'm going to move it aside and try a different table, and I end up going with a rectangular one, I think, that came from Eco Living. And I don't know, I just felt it suited the space a little bit nicer. It just, I felt like this one looks a little too big, or maybe it crowds the window a little bit. And so when I switch that out, I just think it looks a much nicer. Doesn't feel quite as cramped. So here's that chair I end up going with, and that table I end up going with on the chairs, and I just delete that other table out. So here I am furnishing the living room. I did toy with putting that fireplace in, but I end up taking it out because, again, the layout just wasn't working quite right for me with that in there. So I take that out and just have the TV, and I do some shelving on that wall. I also put a couple guitars in this room, and I also put a piano. Well, I use a dresser and the keyboard and make kind of a makeshift standing upright piano, and I put that in the entryway. And I had seen another sim YouTuber do that on a speed build a while back, and I forget who it was. I believe it was Simlessy, but I could be wrong, so don't come after me. But it's not my idea, but I really like that idea, and I wish we had an upright piano. I love putting pianos in the homes of my Sims, but I really don't like the grand pianos. They just take up so much space, and when you're trying to do a smaller build, it just doesn't make any sense. And the keyboard works, but it doesn't look as nice. I want something just a little bit, I don't know, a little bit more grand than just a keyboard. So this is what I'm talking about here. I end up changing out the table to use a different one here eventually. I try a couple different ones, and I eventually settle on one that's basically all black, and I think it looks really nice. And yeah, I just think it's a really neat idea. I do wish we had, an upright piano in The Sims, but maybe someday. And then it takes me a while to decide what to put here next to the front door. I wanted a coat rack of some sort, and I think I end up going back to the first one I pulled out originally. I just initially didn't love the color swatches, but then I decided, it works. It's got black in it, and then of course the piano in there has black on it, so it matches pretty nicely. And now I'm just adding a few decorative touches to the living room, and putting a coffee table and a few debug clutter items on it, I believe. And then I think next I move to the upstairs. I love those little cushions that we got. I think they came with, I'm gosh, I can't remember if it was tiny living or if it was eco lifestyle. They're actually, I don't think they're actually seats. I think they're actually tables that you can set stuff on, which I don't really like. I wish they were just seats, but I could be wrong. They might actually be chairs. But anyway, I really like the looks of those, and I think it suited this room really nicely. Like I said, this home does only have one bathroom, but it's a pretty good sized bathroom. And the bedrooms, they're small, but you've got everything you need and they're functional. So I think it works out all right. I thought about, I toyed with the idea of making a much bigger home, but I find that sometimes when I do that, I have a hard time furnishing them. So I do like to build, I guess, a little bit more, not really tiny home, but I do like to build a little bit smaller homes in The Sims. I just think they're easier to furnish and they don't take me quite so long to build as well. Because there's nothing worse than spending, 5 or 6 hours on a build, and then it's like you have to cut out tons of footage to, fit it on YouTube. So I generally try to keep my builds smaller so that I don't have to cut out much, if anything at all. I like to preferably just speed it up and do a voiceover and then post it and not have to cut and edit a whole lot. This house is suitable for 2 adult Sims and a toddler, and then a child or a teen. You could easily change out the toddler bed and put another child bed in there, or even turn this into a nursery by putting a crib. But I furnished it for a toddler and a child in mind, and so that's the way it's going to be uploaded. Nothing special in the bathroom. I end up just putting a couple countertops in there, sink. I think I put a toddler potty in there. I hope I remember to. If I forgot, I apologize. I'll try to remember to put it in the build before I upload, because you do need that in order to potty train your toddlers. And then here we are working on the main bedroom, the parents' bedroom, which I think turned out, again, really pretty. I love all the windows. I would just love to have all that light streaming in. I feel like it's a really bright and airy bedroom. And yeah, and it's, like I said, it's very, there's some traditional elements to it, but it's also pretty contemporary. And I figure this is probably one of those, the family that lives here, maybe they're a young family. They bought this kind of, Victorian historical home, and they just fixed it up and, gave it their own touch. And yeah, it looks really, turned out really nicely. And then here in the landing, I just decided to put a desk and a couple bookcases so that you have a kind of little office space. There isn't any designated office in this home, which is kind of a bummer, but I really wanted to fit one in, but I just couldn't make it work with the layout and still get my 3 bedrooms. So I went ahead and just made that. It was a large hallway landing space, so I ended up using that as that office space, and I think it works out all right. So I think that's the interior basically done, and now we're just moving on to the exterior, doing some landscaping. I love those hanging plants. They're in the buy debug menu, so if you type in testing cheats, and then you type in bb.show hidden objects and bb.show live edit objects, you can access a ton of landscaping and plants and just items that you would see in the world that you don't necessarily have in the buy catalog, and you can use those in your own builds. And those hanging plants are a couple of items that that you can use, and I really love them. They look really nice. The landscaping is pretty basic, pretty simple. I just do some shrubbery, some plants, tongue-tied, and then I use some terrain tools to make a little patio area, and I think it turns out really pretty. It's not quite as fully landscaped as the home next door, but it does still have, I think, a really pretty outdoor area. I also put a few um, uh, planters for gardening out here as well eventually, which I think the way I laid them out it looks pretty nice. You could definitely put more out here if you needed to, um, or if you wanted to, you know, have just a huge gardening area. You could definitely remove the picnic table and the grill, but for my gameplay for the family I had in mind, this backyard really worked nicely. One thing I didn't put in, which probably would have been nice, and now that I'm thinking about it, I wish I kind of had, was maybe more for kids to do outside, even if just a kiddie pool or a swing set. But again, those are things that you could always add after the fact. And I put a nice chess table and a little bench out at the front there. And then it takes me a minute to get this roof the way I want it on this little bay window, but eventually I get there. But you'll see me struggle with it just a bit. I don't know what my problem was. I was just having a really hard time figuring it out, but I do finally eventually get there. And then I'm just putting some last minute touches with some rocks around the place, and I do a couple little garden gnomes, which I thought were really sweet. And yeah, and I think we're just about finished here. I might pop into the interior a couple more times. No, I don't think I do. I think I just name the home and add some last minute lights and then go from there. Oh, that's right. I do put some lights around the garden as well, just to kind of brighten things up and, you know, make it so when your Sims are outside walking around, it's not pitch dark. Yeah, I think this is just about it. Yep, here we are. We're in the screenshots. I really hope you enjoyed it. I thank you for watching, and I hope wherever you are, you're staying safe and healthy, and your day is going great. Thank you. Talk to you later.